backwards and upwards. I should take back my number this now. I'm good like, I thought, right, I'm just exhausted and I went past it. I can hardly keep the peepers open. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's
National Geographic.
Even when you're applying for people, nobody's
Okay guys, we'll be starting our original oratory finals now. And original oratory is where students wrote their own piece and about a topic, and this year it was serious. And the first presenter would be Gary Papazova from Oratory.
You open your eyes in the darkness of the night. The thin walls of your house are trembling with the force of someone knocking downstairs. You rise, shaking, as your fingers wrap around the cold, steel doorknob. You open the door and are immediately facing your nightmare. 3 firemen standing with helmets numbered 451. They barge in, bearing sickening smiles on their twisted faces. After minutes of agonizing scanning around your room, they finally found them. Your books. You open your mouth to scream, but you can only watch in terror as you are hauled outside, watching orange flames engulf your beautiful treasures. You might be able to find this scenario familiar, as it is the concept of burning books in a dystopian world, which Ray Bradbury wrote about in his widely known book, Fahrenheit 451. However, what if I told you that this is a parallel of what our future may look like? Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Papazova, and today I will be focusing on the idea of no fiction. More specifically, a dystopian world without books. I will be analyzing 3 main points today: how books are essential to the human race, what a dystopian world without books looks like, and how books pose a threat. How books are essential to the human race. According to the website Real Simple, those who read regularly are 2.5 times less likely to get Alzheimer's disease, that books can lower mental decline by 32%, and that reading increases empathy. Over the past year, I have realized that I cannot live without fiction in my life. At one point, I questioned why, and I couldn't grasp how words on a page could become one of the main purposes in my life. I thought for months, and finally, I found out the answer to that question. Fiction is essential to humans because it teaches us lessons no other human being could teach us. We learn those lessons while we accompany our main characters through their daily battles. The word for this feeling we are taught is empathy. We empathize for a character's loss, for their desperation, and for their battles. I have too many favorite books from which I can pick, but one, which has truly taught me to be human and empathize, is Copper Sun by Sharon Draper. In this book, I follow the story of Amari, a girl who was taken as a slave from her village in Africa and sent to the United States. By reading about the horrors she faced, and by learning about all the happiness she lost, I started to care about her immensely. I started to understand her. I learned to feel empathy. We can clearly understand now just how vital books are to us. However, what does a dystopian world without books look like? Well, to imagine a future world where there's no fiction, let's take a look at real cases in history which have occurred in our world. Example 1 is Nazi Germany. Dutch Roll states that on May 10, 1933, 20,000 pieces of fiction and literature were incinerated in front of a crowd of people for being un-German. Universities charred literature to ashes, all because it didn't contain their philosophy. Poets and artists were all creatively exiled. Many professors and creators fled early, but many others stayed, watching the pages black into nothingness, being burned, until all of the beauty was but smoke in the air. A single reminder as to what once existed to feed the people's creative starvation. Example 2 is Communist China. BBC states that the historic emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, ordered all of the scholars and all of the books to be destroyed. According to Britannica, during the rule of the Qin dynasty in 221 to 206 BC, massive book burnings occurred, and Confucian pieces of literature were burned to complete ashes. History today states that Qin Shi Huang buried alive 460 scholars as well. Later, during the Cultural Revolution in China during 1966 to 79, Mao Zedong decided that the old ideas in books should be burned, proceeding to start roaring fires and burning alive 46,000 scholars as well. By starting these book burnings and by eliminating creative individuals, people start to believe whatever they are told. By visualizing these book burnings, we can visualize no hope. We can visualize people's loss. By discussing these book burnings, we can clearly see that books pose a threat. However, you still might wonder how fantasy, fiction, and heroic pieces of literature cause a threat. They pose a threat to the social norm and the idea that imagination is for children. They are a symbol of elite power and rebellion. Humans are destructive beings by nature. It is through will and experience that we become good. Fighting for the good is a choice. Books have taught us as much. Books allow us to understand hope. Hope for a better world, and for finding the good that lives in us. By reading pieces of fiction and literature, we defy the standard thinking that is forced onto us. We can do anything if we read. We live in a world where freedom comes for a price of safety, where many of us go through horrors every day, yet still pick ourselves up because the words written on a page push us to. We cannot risk facing a world of war and of no fiction, a world with no philosophical thinking. We will not let ourselves be stripped from our freedom and from our right to dream. I say this clearly enough in hopes that even the vast universe will hear me, because even I, a girl who is recklessly fearless, in hopes of adventure and heroism, even I am solemnly afraid of a world without books, creativity, and magic. Thank you.
Before I announce the next speaker, can you turn off your phones for now so that it makes no sound? So the next speaker is Zach Howe from Oratory.
Now, let's be honest. We all love a bargain. Maybe it's for a soft, luxurious hoodie to make up your new winter wardrobe. Or maybe it's for a traditional carpet you are hoping to bring home after a magnificent holiday. Before snatching it off the hanger to claim that bargain as your own, have you ever checked to see where it comes from? Good afternoon, everyone. I am Zach, and I'll be speaking on behalf of the International School of Azerbaijan about child labor in the South Asian region. I'll be focusing on 3 main points: lack of education, lack of government funding and support, and the role of charities in fighting to end the vicious cycle that is child labor. I would like to start off by speaking about education. Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. In the case of child labor, this statement rings true on 2 fronts. First, the education of the children. According to The Guardian, 15% of children between the ages of 6 and 14 do not go to school and work full-time. In addition, 2/3 of girls from slum areas of Dhaka are employed in Bangladesh's $30 billion clothes manufacturing industry, which is one of the world's largest. These statistics clearly show that children coming from such a low socioeconomic background have no access to education. Secondly, is the education of the consumer. According to a survey conducted by IPOS Read on behalf of the World Vision Organization, 82% of 1,007 Canadians surveyed admitted they didn't know where their goods were coming from or who made them. Furthermore, only 60% said that they would no longer purchase products and would change brands if they found out that children made such items. Clearly, these facts demonstrate that a lack of education has varying consequences. Primarily, it robs children of their childhood and creates an uneducated consumer. As I'm speaking to you, there are over 168 million children between the ages of 5 and 17 working in hazardous, vile conditions. This is partly because of government's lack of action in regards to their youngest citizens. For example, in 2013, a discovery was made in Korea, India, that despite the fact labor laws prohibiting children under 18 to work in the mines had been in place since 1952, the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights discovered that children as young as 5 had been working in dark, dangerous conditions. And this disgusts me. As a child who has seen children crying on the streets as they were forced to sell bracelets while watching their friends run off to school, I find the Indian government's lack of random searches on known mines and implementation of their own laws unacceptable. Something has to be done about this. So, there are numerous organizations involved in combating the issue that surrounds child labor. These range from large-scale NGOs to small grassroots organizations, both of which are vital in the struggle. Large organizations have massive operating budgets, large staff, a global audience, and well-known fundraising events. However, grassroots organizations are able to have direct contact with the children and work on improving conditions in the local community. One such organization is Friends International. Based in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, this organization rescues children from the appalling conditions they are trapped in. They provide on-the-job training, education, housing, access to library, access to medical care, and most importantly, mental health counseling services. Through these actions, children are successfully integrated back into society while still providing financial assistance to their families. This showed me the power of grassroots organizations to make a lasting impact on those communities that they support. It is clear that child labor is a complex issue that cannot be solved overnight. However, in this age of digital citizenship, we can no longer turn a blind eye. Governments need to protect their citizens, all of their citizens, even those without a voice. As we are sitting in school, perhaps complaining that our Wi-Fi is not fast enough or our homework assignments are overwhelming, we need to take a moment and be grateful. The education we are receiving is preparing us to be tomorrow's leaders. Leaders that will have choices and options. With those choices comes a responsibility to educate those around us, to become informed consumers, and to educate those around us to become informed consumers like us. We have an opportunity to be the voice of the voiceless. Let's not squander it. I know we all love a bargain, but everything has a price. In this case, it's the children, and that price is just too high. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Taeyul Sim from St. Peter's.
Hello everyone. I have a question before I start. Excuse me? What do you think this is?
A hand.
Yeah, it's a hand. For me, it's a normal hand. But for me, this is only a smartphone stand. Nowadays, we use our smartphones too much that it has become more like our actual hands rather than just an everyday tool. If you, ladies and gentlemen, will hold up your hands like this, some of you might notice that your right pinky finger's joint is slightly popped out. It is indeed because our pinky fingers are usually used as a pedestal to hold the cell phone and have been bent by the pressure. This is only one example of why we should control our smartphone usage. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Taeyul Sim, and I'm representing the Anglo-American School of St. Petersburg. Today, I am here to warn you about smartphone addiction and its horrible side effects. Pretty much everybody is aware of the problems, the side effects of smartphones. Smartphones can cause all sorts of problems from poor eyesight, nerve damage, neck, back, fingers, social problems, lack of sleeping, and all the way to addiction. Starting with the eyesight. According to research done by Dr. Rosenblum in the University of California, eyesight takes up to 83% of all the information we process by the 5 senses. As shown, eyesight plays a very important role in our everyday lives. And we can easily damage our eyes while desperately trying to see more clearly on those miniature screens. According to the American Macular Degeneration Foundation, blue and violet light radiated by smartphone screens could potentially kill our eye cells and cause macular degeneration where center of your eyes are blurred or even invisible. Another major issue is the back problems. Every time we're hunched over on our phones on a desperate attempt to see more clearly, a huge amount of pressure is delivered to our backs. Need more explanation? A research done by the Surgical Technology International says that as our texting angle varies, we can be putting as much as 22.5 kilograms to our spines. Well, do you actually realize what that means? That much pressure is equivalent to an ordinary 7-year-old child. Imagine putting a 7-year-old child on your head. Now, moving on to the most common and therefore well-known smartphone problem, the addiction. To talk about my example, I'm personally game addicted. Every time I access a game simply just to check on my account, I always find myself gaming in battle until my mom shouts out, "Got it out!" Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure you've also had a similar experience where you aren't just able to stop, right? For me, video games are a way to escape the reality from short period of time, from homework, from math tests, and speech and debate work. But I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, is it a good thing to get trapped in the virtual world, unaware of the things that happen around you in the reality? This idea of addiction also comes in another form, called nomophobia, short for no mobile phone phobia. Just as stated, it is an anxiety caused by being without a mobile device. It might sound funny, and it does indeed, but nomophobia is a rising problem in our society. According to psychologytoday.com, in the US, 2 out of every 3 adults suffer nomophobia. Well, you've pretty much seen this already around you. People on Snapchat and Insta, in restaurants, in the movies, at work, in airports, and on toilets. Pretty much everywhere we can think of. So here's my 3 solutions for these problems. First, the 100% accurate way to do it is to go back to the 90s, using the 2G foldable cell phones. But of course we can't do that, right? Which leads to my second realistic solution. The 20-20-20 rule, where you're supposed to stare at something 20 feet or 6 meters away for 20 seconds of every 20 minutes of your texting time. This solution can help our eyes to moisten and rest to prevent irritated, gritty, scratchy, or burning eyes. The last solution is to use certain applications to control our smartphone usage. One of them is called the addiction stop, which could completely block you from accessing your cell phone for a limited time. To summarize my speech, smartphone abuse can cause several health problems to our eyes and backs. And smartphone abuse can easily turn into smartphone addiction. With the solutions, such as the ones that I provided for you, we will be able to stop the problems of smartphone addiction for good. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, next we have Anna Roska from Bucharest.
tired of it all. Sometimes people just get tired. Tired of being too skinny or too fat. Tired of being too tall or too short. Tired of just never being good enough. Tired of saying they're okay and pretending to be happy. When on the inside they're breaking. I'm tired of it all. My name is Anna Roska. I represent the American International School of Bucharest, and today I will be talking about the impact external factors such as the media and the careless things people say have on how others see themselves. People always say to love yourself, but I mean, we all know that's easier said than done. Because here's the thing, how can I love myself if I'll never be good enough? No matter how hard I try, how much I care, I'll still never be good enough. And how can I ever feel good in my own skin if I'm constantly being judged? Judged because of what I wear, what I like, and what I do. Because whatever I do, it still won't conform to society's standards and rules. And there will always be someone who doesn't like me. Because I can't possibly please everyone. And even though I know this, it doesn't mean I don't try to. Self-love and acceptance isn't something that happens overnight. It is a lifelong journey. Body image includes the way we feel about our physical appearance, as well as the way we believe others perceive us. This is all influenced by the people we surround ourselves with, the environment we grew up in, and the media we are exposed to. Even though body image is what a lot of people like to label superficial, it's still something that impacts our lives in so many ways. Advertisements play a big role in this insecurity we have developed, especially since, according to digital marketing experts, the average American is exposed to 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements daily. Everywhere you go, you see billboards, magazines, and commercials. And in the end, whether you realize it or not, all that does to people is just make them unsatisfied. After all, what is the purpose of an advertisement if not to convince you that what you own needs replacing or that how you look needs fixing? Companies benefit from people's self-doubt, and we need to start being more aware of that. The marketing business idolizes the winners of a so-called genetic lottery. You see, the ugly truth is that being tall, skinny, and white sells in this industry. We don't realize that what is being promoted as the average is actually a minority. Many companies set unrealistic expectations for us. The client often isn't aware of all the photoshopping, airbrushing, lights, camera angles, and filters that are used to make adverts look the way they do. The model, Cameron Russell, talked about how people don't realize that the photos being published don't capture the model as they truly are, but are rather a construction or an invention. And it's one that is developed by professionals like hairstylists, makeup artists, and photographers. By constantly being presented with the ideal body type, we unknowingly learn to idolize and strive to achieve that. I mean, yes, it's normal for people to want to look their best and to live a healthy lifestyle, but the problem starts when that becomes an obsession. According to the Mental Health Center of Texas, it can affect their health, academics, social life, and overall well-being. Low self-esteem, which is often caused by having poor body image, can cause anxiety, loneliness, an increase in the likelihood of having depression, developing an eating disorder, and it makes a person more vulnerable to drug and alcohol abuse. For example, according to the National Eating Disorders Association, eating disorders affect 30 million people in the United States alone, both male and female. And one of those people is my friend. She has been struggling with anorexia for over a year now. Why? Because of the pressure placed upon her by social media, her classmates, and even her own parents. The day her PE teacher made a comment on her weight is when it all started. And yes, it was a small comment, something many of you consider insignificant. But it set her life on a completely different course. And this is why I'm standing here today, begging you to understand that the words you throw around carelessly can hurt, and they will hurt. How many of you here have lied about being okay when someone asked how you're doing? It's It's become first nature to deny our pain and conceal our wounds. That shouldn't be the case, because people aren't always fine, and believe it or not, it's okay to not be okay. Crying doesn't mean you're weak, it just means you've been strong for too long. And I agree with Johnny Depp 100% on that matter. We as humans are afraid to be vulnerable in front of others, afraid to give them power over us, but someone only has power over you if you give it to them. You aren't controlled by society. You're influenced by it, but only you can decide how much you allow it to influence you. Now, I'm not perfect, and I'm no better than many others, because I judge people too. I judged that boy I saw in the hallway because of what he was wearing, and I judged that girl I saw crying, assuming she was just doing it for attention, and I'm not proud of it. I have no right to judge people's choices without knowing their reasons, but I do it anyway. I mean, don't we all? And that's the sad thing. We blame society, but we are society. Thank you.
The last speaker of this round is Sophia Cho from St. Petersburg.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and fellow speakers. My name is Sophia Cho, and I represent the Anglo-American School of St. Petersburg. Girl, young, short, dog lover. Did these words mean anything to you? Probably not. These words don't mean much unless it has something to be contrasted to. Listen again. Girl, boy. Young, old. Short, tall, dog lover, cat lover. These opposites provide a counterpart between these words and applies to our personalities and lives. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to talk to you today about how difference makes us better people. Firstly, we are not ourselves without another person. What is an optimist without a pessimist? What is bitter without sweet? What is light without dark? We will examine the word difference and how it is important to us and others. Second, we will see how we can use difference to achieve goals. Before I explain about difference and the world, I need to talk about difference and me. I was born in the US and moved to Korea when I was 2. I attended an international school in Seoul, but moved to Russia for 4th grade. I have a pretty unique background. I'm different from the Korean kids here who used to go to Korean schools. I don't look like the typical American girl, and I'm definitely not Russian. Keep in mind that we're all different in one way or another. Back to what I mentioned before, we are not ourselves without another person. Let me give you an example. My mom and dad are both different people. When I'm in trouble, my mom gets mad pretty easily. She will explode, rapidly firing Korean at me, and sometimes I don't understand what she's talking about. On the other hand, my dad is calm and will remain patient. He will explain the situation to me step by step. Imagine how my life would have been if both of my parents were like my mom or my dad. I'm grateful that having parents with different personalities allowed me to expect different reactions in life. Not one without the other is a story of life. Even in literature, this comes out in almost every book. An ancient Chinese war strategist, Master Sun, once wrote, "If you know your enemies and yourself, you will not be put at risk even in 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not your opponent, you may win or lose. If you know neither yourself nor the enemy, you will always endanger yourself." I interpreted his words like this. In order to find yourself, you must have someone else. You can still learn from people who are against you. Let's take a look at some of the best-selling novels. In The Hunger Games, protagonist Katniss Everdeen only truly discovers who she is and what she stands for after being thrown into the deadly arena by ruthless President Snow. Harry Potter learns about who he is and what he stands for after facing the Dark Lord Voldemort. Percy Jackson learns about himself and his new abilities in comparison to the insensitive, cruel Greek gods. Now, think about it this way. After Cadmus, Harry, Percy confronted people who are different from them, they became more of themselves. This is proof that you learn about yourself from other people. Well, okay, but after you acknowledge and learn these differences, what do? This leads to my second reason. We must accept difference so that we can achieve goals. Let me give you another personal example. In the beginning of my first school year in St. Petersburg, our teacher told us to construct a building out of paper and tape. The group to create the tallest and strongest building would win a prize. My partner was a Russian boy who lived his whole life in St. Petersburg. I, on the other hand, grew up in Seoul, Korea. I wanted to build a tall, rectangular structure like the ones I'd seen all my life in Seoul. He, however, envisioned a shorter, sturdier European style like the ones around St. Petersburg. We had a minor argument, but in the end, we compromised on a pyramid structure. Although neither of us got exactly what we wanted, we met halfway and won first prize. Now, I will restate that difference makes us better people, because 1, we can learn about other people and find who we are. 2, we need to accept difference so that we can achieve goals. Now, I'd like to go back to what I said. I have a pretty unique background. This made me think about difference, and I'll probably reflect on this for the rest of my life. I'd like to add that no one is small or big, or young or old, all the time. It depends on what you compare it to. But the important thing is that being different in size, personality, age, race, gender isn't ever a bad thing. Let's just all be more open-minded about difference. I am different. Are you different? What's the difference? Thank you for listening.
So next round will be Duet Acting finals. And before we go to Duet Acting finals, we're going to have like a 10-minute break so that we can set up the camera.
Yeah, really good job. Can you teach it all you?
Huh?
Were you the timer on this?
Am I the timer for what?
No, who is the timer?
So can you do it like this? I'm gonna see and then move the press. 계속 하던 거대로 해봐. 아, do it actually. Definitely.
You're learning to use speech by heart by Monday.
Huh?
You're learning to use speech by heart by Monday.
Yeah. You just bring the And your voice is going to be recorded.
Link there so that parents can go on the website and watch the live stream. You know what I mean? Fix that, alleviates time.
Chan made it for me, so blame him.
Yeah, okay, I see. 13, 12. You cheater. Can they hear me?
Hmm?
Can they hear me?
Yeah.
I just called you a cheater on live stream.
They don't know who you is.
Wait, but I'm gonna try and beat this up. Yeah, true. True.
Is it fascinating to watch?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're doing this. You're cheating. You can't do
I am cheating.
When we start, I will give you back. Right when they come out and start.
If I do this, then it'll be like shaky.
Oh my gosh, there's charging.
People are leaving.
How much did...
Oh, they're actually coming in now.
Okay, so this is our duet acting finals round, and the first act we're gonna see is from Alex Noonan and Strahi Valagic from Sophia.
Hello, my name's Al,
And I'm Strahi.
and we're from the Anglo-American School of Sophia.
Today we'll be performing Bungee by
Ken Bradbury.
I can't believe we're finally here.
You said you always wanted to do this.
Look, I'm having second thoughts.
Jerry, you can't have second thoughts. We've climbed 200 feet up this tower. There's a lot of people behind us.
Let's just go to the mall instead.
Jerry, we can't go to the mall. We're about to bungee jump. You said you always wanted to do this for your birthday.
I still do.
Then what's the problem?
I'd rather do it for my 60th birthday. 14 is too soon. I want something to look forward to.
Oh look, he's motioning us up to the platform.
No, he's just waving.
He was not waving, Jerry. We're next in line. Come on.
I can't.
Why?
I forgot something when we climbed up here.
What?
I forgot to stay down on the ground.
Hold it.
Come on, Sean. I changed my mind. I can do that. It's my birthday.
Let me tell you something. Look at that, Jerry. Look at the line of people on the tower. Can you imagine the humiliation of walking back down to those people saying, sorry, make way for the chicken.
But I am a chicken.
Come on, birthday boy. You'll never forget this.
I won't have time to forget. I'll be dead in 5 minutes. Ah! Don't let me do that again.
To what?
Look down. The next time I look down, stop me. Ah! You did stop me!
Then stop looking down.
I can't help it. Down is such a long ways away. Ah! I did it again.
Would you stop that?
The people, Sean, they all look like ants from up here.
Those are ants, Jerry. They're on your shoe.
Then I must go home.
Why?
I can't kill a bunch of innocent ants.
Just relax. Here comes the harness.
They're going to hang me?
That's the strap they put around you.
I'm being strapped?
The strap holds you up, Jerry. The strap keeps you safe.
Hey, watch where you're putting your hands.
He's just trying to help. Relax.
Relax? 6 miles above the surface of the earth, breathing the last few breaths of my life, waiting to plunge into the atmosphere and burn like a meteorite while the ground keeps getting closer and closer and...
Jerry!
What?
It's time to jump.
No, it's not. It's never time to jump. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, thou shalt jump. Lincoln never said, 7 years ago, we jumped. Jumping is not a requirement.
Then you'll have to be pushed.
Touch me and I'll never speak to you again.
Look, just... What are you doing? No. I'm not jumping. I just came here with my friend.
You no longer have any friends, Sean. You mean you weren't going to jump?
Oh, I bungee jump all the time. Today's your day.
It's a double harness.
No way.
Wait, he's hooking you up.
No. You can't do this to me. I've never done this before.
You said you jumped.
I lied. He can't do this to me.
Oh, yes, he can.
No. You see, there's a mistake. I just came here to encourage him. He's a little scared.
Me? I'm a little scared. Whatever happened to my big brave friend?
No, stop that. I'm not jumping. He's jumping. I'm watching.
Looks like you get a pretty good view.
I can't do this.
I can't either. Why not?
I have an appointment.
To what? To live? I've got an appointment to live. Now he wants me to die. And that will completely foul up my plans to live. You can't do this to me.
Together, Sean. We're going to die together.
I'm not going to die. I'm not going to jump.
He's going to push us if we don't jump.
I'll bite you. I swear I'll bite you. I have rabies. I haven't had my shots, and I'm highly infectious. You touch me, and I'll bite you, and you'll die a slow, painful death.
He doesn't believe you.
How do you know?
He's laughing.
He's just scared of me, that's all.
They're all laughing.
Then it's mass hysteria. Sean, I can't do this. I'm serious.
Why?
I have a phobia. I haven't told you this before, and it's quite serious.
What phobia? You're scared of what?
Crashing headfirst into the ground at over 100 miles an hour. That scares me. I've had it ever since I was a kid.
You're nuts.
Yes, that's it. I'm nuts. You can't push an insane person off a tower. There's a law against that.
Here he comes.
Oh, the hands of death on my shoulders.
I can't do this.
I can't either. Sean?
What?
If we're about to die, I have to tell you something.
What?
Remember the Snickers bar in 3rd grade?
What are you talking about?
You won a spelling bee contest, then you received the Snickers, and then you put it in your desk and you couldn't find it?
Yeah?
I ate it.
What?
Those are my last words to you, Sean. I ate your Snickers bar.
You jerk!
I'm sorry, I was hungry.
Jerry!
I was also a lousy speller.
Jerry!
Don't push me. I just made my final confession. I don't deserve to die.
If we die today, I need to tell you something too.
What?
You're an idiot!
How many times are you gonna have to tell me that?
Oh, let's see. 1, 2. No. I'm not counting. 3.
Thank you.
From Azerbaijan.
Good afternoon. I am A2, Aileen.
And I am A4, also known as Zach.
And today we will be doing a passage called Josie and Pete,
which is about a boy who is trying to conquer his fears of heights and falling, ironically by falling off a building,
and a girl who is trying to peacefully eat her lunch.
What are you doing? Don't do that.
What are you doing?
You shouldn't sneak up on people on rooftops.
Why are you on the roof?
Why are you on the roof?
I asked you first.
You're not supposed to be up here.
And you are?
What are you doing?
I am carrying a fairly obvious paper bag which holds a fairly obvious lunch.
You're the new girl?
Or Josie. I go by either as far as names go.
What's wrong with you?
You're asking me what's wrong?
Huh?
Me? Lunch. You? Egg cartons.
You do not have a sunny personality.
I'll take the lack of sun over woo-woo any day.
What is woo-woo?
Woo-woo is what happens when you duct tape egg cartons to your body.
Hey, I am not woo-woo.
You're Pete.
I am.
Hooray! I'm going to eat my lunch.
Where are you eating on the roof?
It's quiet, usually. I thought nobody else knew about the door being unlocked.
But don't you want to eat with other people?
Why do you care where I eat?
Why are you answering a question with a question?
I don't feel like answering yours. Although, I kind of want to know what you're doing.
You'll think I'm crazy.
Too late.
And it's not woo-woo.
Said the man in the egg carton suit.
Oh, and what'll you do if I don't tell?
Run down to the office and say there's a crazy guy on the roof.
You can't do that.
Dude, you are so woo-woo you can't even see
You
me.
can't turn me in. That's not fair. Oh, I knew I should have done this earlier. I could have been in 4th period. Look. My entire future is riding upon these next few moments. And if you stop me, you'll be totally responsible for ruining my life.
This would be the part when you tell me why.
Okay. Fine. I applied to my dream school to get my dream job, and I got accepted.
Which in the non-egg carton world would be a cause for celebration.
Yes, but they were supposed to turn me down. I only applied because I was sure they'd reject me.
Why?
Because now I have to go. I can't turn down my dream school and dream job. That's crazy.
Among other things.
And I want to go. It's an amazing program with the best reviews ever. They only select a handful of students each year, which means they think I'm special. Me. Do you know how crazy that is? I'm freaking out.
I'm confused. You want something? You got it. You're happy that you got it. Wait, what's your dream job in dream school?
It doesn't matter.
It'll help the story.
Fine. I got accepted into Chapman with a possibility of a Pixar internship.
That's big.
Oh, I know. I have to go.
So go.
I can't.
Why not?
What if I fail? What if I think I'm good and they think I'm good, but really I'm no good? What if I crash and burn?
So don't go.
I can't stay here. Here is okay for some people, a lot of people, but there's nothing for me here. I really, really, really want my life to be about there.
So you can't stay, you can't go, and you've decided to end it all with an egg carton swan dive?
No!
Sorry.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to say.
I jumped ahead in the story. Please continue.
So I have some other things I'm afraid of.
Naturally.
And I thought if I could conquer those fears.
Right. And what are the fears that have led you to being covered in egg cartons?
Heights and falling.
What?
No, it's not woo-woo.
Jumping off the roof of the school is the definition of woo-woo.
Okay, fall off. I'm going to fall off. There's a big difference.
Here's the roof. There is the ground. And how are egg cartons going to save you from enduring at the very least severe physical damage?
It's not just egg cartons. I'm going to fill them with shaving cream.
Of course you are.
And there's a couple of gym mats. The bottom covered with empty cardboard boxes, which will break my fall. It will be fine.
Pete?
Yes?
You can't think this is a good idea.
It sounded like a good idea.
Egg cartons, shaving cream, cardboard boxes, and a couple of gym mats.
Oh, that makes it sound like less than a good idea.
There has got to be another way to kick your butt out of this town. I'll even volunteer. I'll come to your house, drag you out of your bed, and kick your butt all the way to Chapman.
You don't even know me.
You don't know me either. We're even.
Do you really hate being called the new girl?
It's better than Parents Gone to Jail Girl. Love that one.
Fine. I'll never call you the new girl ever again. Josie.
I won't call you boo-boo. Unless you do this whole falling thing. Then I won't have a choice. Okay, so next we have Maria Militescu and Maria Romanescu from Bucharest.
Hello, my name is Maria Romanescu and this is Maria Militescu. We represent American International School of Bucharest. Today we'll present a piece called Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. We hope you enjoy. I am Sam. Sam I am.
Oh, that Sam I am. That Sam I am. I do not like that Sam I am.
Do you like green eggs and ham?
I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam.
Would you like them here or there?
I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. Do not like them, Sam I am.
Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse?
I would not like them in a house. I would not like them with a mouse. Ew. I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. Do not like them, Sam I am.
Would you eat them in a box? Would you eat them with a fox?
Not in a box. Not with a fox. I would not like them in the house. I would not like them with a mouse. I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. Just don't like them, Sam I am.
Could you, in a car? Eat them, here they are.
I would not, could not in a car.
You may like them, you will see. You may like them in a tree.
Not in a tree, not in a car. Sam, let me be. I would not, could not in a box. I would not, could not with a fox. I would not like them in the house. I would not like them with a mouse. I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
A train, a train, a train, a train. Would you, could you, on a train? Choo-choo.
I would not, could not, on a train. Choo-choo.
Say, in the dark, here in the dark, would you, could you, in the dark?
I would not, could not, in the dark.
Would you, could you, in the rain?
I would not, could not, in the rain, not in the dark, not in the tree, and not in the rain. I
would not eat them in a box. I would not eat them with a fox. I would not eat them in a house. I would not eat them with a mouse. I would not eat them here or there. I would not eat them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
You don't like green eggs and ham?
I don't like them, Sam I am.
Would you, with a goat?
I would not go with a goat. Could you, on a boat? I could not, on a boat, no, with a goat. I would not eat them in the rain. I would not eat them in the dark, not in a train, not in a tree, not in a car. I would not eat them in a box. I would not eat them with a fox. I would not eat them in a house. I would not eat them with a mouse. I would not eat them here or there. I would not eat them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
You don't like them, so you say. Try them, and you may, I say.
Sam, if you won't let me be, I will try them. You will see. And I would eat them in the boat, I'll eat them with the goat, and I'll eat them in the rain, and in the dark, and on a train, and in a tree, and in a car. Oh, I do, you see? Thank you, Sam, I am. I do so like green eggs and ham. Thank
It was so hard. It was so hard. Here and there, I have to move here and there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're representing the Anglo-American School of St. Petersburg. We're performing a duet called Barney by
Lori Allen. It's about a girl talking about her new tattoo with a friend. My name is Julia Hansen, and I'm Nora.
My name is Young Choi, and I'm Jade.
Hey!
Nora, I'm so glad you came over. I've got to tell you something. It's a secret.
Ooh, I love secrets. Tell me.
I got a tattoo.
What? How? When?
This weekend.
You're lying.
No, but I did lie about my age. I said I was 18, and lucky me, they didn't ask for identification.
What? Oh my gosh, you got a tattoo? You are so lucky. Everyone will be so jealous.
I know, but there's one little problem.
What?
My mom. If she ever finds out, she'll kill me.
Just hide it from her. I hide things from my mom all the time. So tell me, where is it?
My ankle.
Awesome, but I guess you'll have to wear pants around your mom all the time, huh?
Yeah, but there's one little problem about that.
What?
Next weekend, we're going to Aunt Karen's wedding. Her fourth, actually. And then one of the 6 bridesmaids has to wear a tea-length dress.
Uh-oh. Then everyone will see what's on your ankle.
I know. Now I wish I'd waited until after the wedding to lie about my age and get a tattoo. And it's not like you won't show. I mean, it is colorful.
Ooh, let me see it. What is that?
What do you mean, what is that? It's a purple and green dinosaur.
A purple and green dinosaur?
Yes, don't you like it?
Barney! You put Barney on your ankle!
Nora, that's not Barney.
It looks like Barney.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. And do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
That song. I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
Nora, stop it.
Jade, why did you put Barney on your ankle when you could have chosen a cross or a friendship heart? But Barney is stupid.
Nora, for the last time, I did not get Barney on my ankle.
Okay, let me see it again. Maybe I looked at it wrong.
See?
Yeah, I see.
And?
I'm sorry, but that looks like Barney to me.
No, it doesn't. The tattoo artist never said anything about it looking like Barney. The tattoo artist said, I can see that on you, cool. The tattoo artist thought it was cool.
And on a positive note, whenever you have kids, they will love it. If he's still popular. I don't even know if he's still on TV. And honestly, I never liked Barney. I thought he was weird and creepy looking.
Nora, I did not get Barney on my ankle.
Okay, but I'm just wondering.
What?
I'm just wondering if you'll still like having a dinosaur on your ankle when you're old.
I don't know. How would I know that?
Or when you're really old, like 60, and you're walking around in your grandma nightgown, and you look down, and there he is, Barney.
It's not Barney.
The purple and green dinosaur. Do you think it will blend in with your pink and white cotton nightgown? And he might start to sag. Because old people's skin sags. And there might even be some stubbly old black hairs growing out of Barney's body.
For the millionth time, I did not get Barney the dinosaur on my ankle.
Okay, it's just a purple and green dinosaur that looks like Barney. I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. Do you like that song?
No!
You know, I don't either. And I think if I got a tattoo, I'd get a dragonfly. But a purple and green dinosaur? No, I wouldn't want something cartoonish like that.
My dinosaur isn't cartoonish.
Well, kinda, because I don't think real-life dinosaurs were purple and green.
How would you know? You weren't alive back then. And did you see Corey's tattoo? He got a Superman tattoo.
That was fake.
No, it wasn't. I saw it. It looked real.
That was fake. It's already faded and gone.
No, Corey was telling everyone that a Superman tattoo was real.
Corey lied.
I lied, said I was 18, now I have a dinosaur tattoo on my ankle.
And it will be there forever and ever and ever.
Oh, Nora, what am I going to do? My mom is going to kill me.
I bet. My mom might even disown me.
Oh, no, what am I going to do?
What color is the dress?
Light blue?
Light blue with a purple and green dinosaur? No, that's going to clash.
What have I done?
Well, we can look at the bright side.
What bright side?
Well, I mean, if you love Barney, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Do you think that logic will work with my mom?
No, probably not. Because if she's anything like my mom, she will scream and then cry and then scream some more. And it could go on for days or weeks or even months. But eventually your life will return to normal. And when it does, you need to remember that you love Barney.
Why?
Because it will speak confidence, like you meant to put Barney on your ankle. And this weekend, when you're walking to the swimming pool with your bathing suit on, never mind the people who are staring at your ankle. Just walk around as if you are proud to have Barney. I mean, the purple and green dinosaur.
What have I done?
And then probably all those kids will start chasing you around the pool, screaming, Mommy, 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 look, it's Barney.
Stop, Barney.
Mommy, look, I want to touch Barney. And then they'll probably all start singing, I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
What have I done?
I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
Stop it.
You know, I really hate that song. But now it's stuck in my head. I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
My tattoo is not Barney. I hate Barney. Everyone hates Barney. Oh, what have I done?
I love you, you love me,
Manas Kumar from Moscow.
Hello, my name is Manas Kumar,
Hello, my name is Mika Golden-Chain.
and we are representing the Anglo-American School of Moscow.
We're presenting the piece to the laughing technique.
Hope you enjoy. Why are you cutting straws?
They're for my anti-smoking project.
You're using straws?
Well, I can't actually use cigarettes, can I?
What about those candy cigarettes?
Randy, they don't make candy cigarettes anymore. Now they're called candy sticks.
Well, I mean, these don't look like cigarettes.
Well, it's the best I can do.
So what are you going to do? Pretend to smoke and then go into a violent coughing episode?
No, but I'm looking for volunteers to perform a skit that I wrote. And Mr. Wilson, my health teacher, said he's going to pick up 3 best skits to be performed at the elementary schools.
Sorry, Tara, but I can't act.
Of course you can. But the actors get to miss school for an entire day.
Oh, I think I can act after all. Romeo, Romeo, whoever art the Romeo.
That was bad.
Oh, how about this? Give me liberty or give me death, smoke cigarettes and you die.
I'm the writer and you're the actor. You have to say what I write.
Sure. And here's something else you might in the little skit of yours. Cigarette smoke stinks. Yuck. So don't smoke, you're going to stink like a stinking ashtray.
That's not the approach I'm taking, Randy.
And cigarette smoking is one of the most common forms of pollution. Jot this down, you miniature people. ETS. Yeah, that's right. ETS. Environmental tobacco smoke. So don't smoke if you wanna. Do you wanna pollute our environment? Huh? Do you?
You're being a little harsh on the elementary kids, don't you think?
No. Sometimes you have to do a little screaming and threatening to get your point across.
I was thinking I'd use the laughing technique.
The laughing technique? What's that?
It's when you get your point across using humorous examples. You know, make the kids laugh.
Cigarette smoking is no laughing.
I know, but...
Back to your little ETS study.
You really did pay attention in health class, didn't you?
If I might proceed, if smoking is so cool, then why do people walk around with one in each hand? Be-dog cool. Don't I look cool?
No. You look stupid.
And of course I look stupid. And I can just stir around like this all day, and I'll be spending all my money on... Hey.
What?
While I was so focused on the health and the environmental aspects, I didn't think about this.
What?
The expenses of cigarettes.
I've got that covered in my skit, Randy, in a humorous way.
Oh yeah? How's that?
Well, I have got this homeless person begging on the street and...
A homeless person begging on the streets? That's humorous?
You didn't hear the rest of it, Randy. Anyway, this homeless person begging on the streets for money so he can buy cigarettes, and then this little old lady walks by, and then she kicks him, and then, as he's on the ground, screaming in pain, she yanks him up by his hair and whacks him a few times with her newspaper.
And this
then,
is supposed to be humorous?
You didn't hear the rest of it, Randy.
Okay.
So the little old lady's whacking him across the head like this, and then the superhero appears.
A superhero? Superman?
Not Superman, just a superhero.
Shouldn't your superhero have a name?
I'll think of a name, okay?
Okay.
So the little old lady's walking him across the head, and then the superhero appears and pushes the old lady away.
Whoa. Superhero pushes an old lady?
And then he picks up the horse and carries him to the moon.
Wait, he carries him to the moon?
Because there's no smoking on the moon. Duh.
Who said?
Randy, it's just a known fact.
Well, I mean, if the Superman hero gave the homeless person a pack of cigarettes and he wanted to light it up on the moon.
With no oxygen.
Well, that's a good point.
So, the superhero and the homeless man are on the moon and...
Question. The superhero and the homeless man on the moon. I'm still waiting for the comic relief here. You know the laughing technique you were talking about?
Randy, it was when the little old lady was whacking the homeless man across the head.
Oh, that was funny?
Yes.
Looks like you may need a little more help than you realize, Farah. Can I see your anti-smoking script?
Well, I'm working on it. Actually, it's just in my head right now. I just need to write it down.
Oh, how about you leave the superior part out and try a different angle?
But I want to do comedy.
Well, you're off to a good start with these. I know. How about you not cut them in half and leave them how they are? Do you want to look stupid?
Yes.
So don't smoke if you want to look stupid.
I want to make sure the kids learn that if you don't smoke, you'll get sick.
And if you smoke, you're going to get... I'm sick.
And if you'll smoke, you'll die.
I'm dying. I'm dying.
Please.
Dying.
Hurry up and die, will you?
These cigarettes, they kill me. Now that was funny. Thank you.
So next we're gonna have the debate finals, and it will be happening here. And the third place debate will not be happening due to both teams are from Moscow. Yeah. We'll start in about 20 minutes. About 15 minutes.
unmuted it.
Mute. Come on. Global system. Oh.
120 is also okay.
Okay, I love you. Guys, this round will be debate finals. On the affirmative, we have Noga Rahet and Ingrid Zolita from Bucharest. On the negative side, we have Aileen Apaden and Luna Juarez. And today, from Azerbaijan, yes. And today they're gonna be arguing the resolution euthanasia should be legalized.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and worthy opponents. My name is Noga Rahat, and this is my partner, Ingrid Zlotea. We are representing the American International School of Bucharest and the affirmative side of the resolution. Euthanasia should be legal. Before elaborating on this, I would like to define some terms. Euthanasia, the painless killing of a patient suffering from an incurable and painful disease or in an irreversible coma. Legal, conforming to or permitted by law or established rule. These definitions come from Oxford dictionaries and Merriam-Webster. Usually, when people first hear the word euthanasia, they associate it with something bad. Some people think of it as another form of suicide. Others believe it shortens lives by throwing away their remaining time on earth. I will be addressing all of this and much more. The first argument we will look at is why a person should have the right to euthanasia if they are in extreme pain. The second argument we will address is how people want to die with pride and dignity. And the final is how a person's condition can affect their family. Imagine you have an incurable disease. You're lying in bed. Your whole body is aching with pain. You're connected to many devices that are supposed to ease the pain, but it doesn't really help. You still feel a tremendous pain. You want to die. There are many people around the world in this situation. The word euthanasia originates from the Greek words that translate into good death. Every person in the world wishes to have a good death. So why are so many individuals who are experiencing extreme pain denied this opportunity? This person already knows that there is no cure for their condition, and their final wish might be to just die a painless death. If there is no cure, why continue putting this person through all the pain and suffering? Currently, euthanasia is legal in the Netherlands, Belgium, Colombia, and Luxembourg. If you look back in time, you see that even fewer countries had legalized euthanasia. But over the years, the numbers have increased, and the recognition of why euthanasia is an important procedure to be discussed, addressed, and looked at has to be understood. According to a New York Times article, a Dutch study came out with the results that 86% of people that requested euthanasia only shortened their lives by a week or a couple of hours, which makes this case stronger, as euthanasia doesn't take lives. It just helps people speed up the process and get rid of the pain. People deserve to have the choice to die, and we should respect their wishes, taking in all of the following circumstances and the severe conditions the person is going through. When you die, you want to die with pride, dignity, and the feeling that people still appreciate you and remember who you are and how you used to be. Terminally ill people require freedom of choice and control over their lives. Many people who have an incurable disease or condition usually want to die after they have a day where they really enjoy themselves. So they die with a last happy memory, which makes them feel good. Brittany Maynard was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor, which was going to kill her in 6 months. 2 days after her husband's birthday, when she was reunited with everyone that was close to her, she died of an overdose of painkillers, which he had asked a doctor to give her. Many people criticized her for the fact that she wanted to die. They said that it wasn't the right time. But, as she pointed out, she wasn't getting any better. So, when is the right time to die?
She died after she felt happy, after she got to be with all her loved ones, and after she got to have one last happy memory to take with her and leave with them. There are several cases like this. You want people to enjoy being with you, not take pity on you. You want to die with pride, dignity, and control over your circumstances. When a person that you care about is sick and there's no cure, you tend to worry about them. You start to wish that there was something you could do to help. One tries to be hopeful and wish for the best. However, sometimes the people that care about the terminally ill person are the ones in need of greater emotional support than the patient themselves. Terminally ill people catch on to the burden they cause to the people they love, making them uncomfortable, as they know that they are the reason for their grieving. Usually, when a loved one is terminally ill, the people that care about them will put their lives on hold to come and care for the person, therefore leading to more constraint on the person's personal life and other family members. Having a terminally ill person in your family can cause a lot of stress, and trying to maintain a regular day routine can be very hard. You may say that the person feeling responsible for their family's pain can influence them into making the decision to be euthanized, and that this is a bad thing, as because their judgment will be clouded, they will make hasty decisions. But taking in all of the following circumstances leads you to believe that their family stress shows them how their lives will be from then on, that really the fact that they want to be euthanized doesn't change anything, that if they had chosen to continue living, it wouldn't be a very happy, worthwhile life, and that anyway, sooner or later they would die of their disease. When they choose to be euthanized, they take away the pain that they can cause their families when they see the progression of their illness. Also, by being euthanized, they can give their loved ones a sense of closure by letting them know that this is their decision and that they have had a wonderful life with them. Obviously, at the beginning, it will hurt to see them gone, but at least you will know that they lived a happy life. And by doing this, the pain will fade away sooner than later. Being terminally ill does affect the people you love. A person with a terminal illness should have the right to euthanasia. A person that has worked so hard to create a reputation for themselves and it being all destroyed because of a terminal illness should have the right to euthanasia. And a person that is not happy with their life, that feels like they are hurting people more than they are helping them, should have the right to euthanasia. Our world is not perfect, but when we see a hungry person on the streets, we help. When we see people that have no water, we help. When we see homeless people, we open shelters and put a roof over their heads. So why is this any different? A person in constant pain, they aren't going to get any better. So why is this any different from the previous scenarios? Why don't we help them by granting them their final wish that will put them out of their misery? Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. You stated that only 4 countries, in only 4 countries euthanasia is legal. Why do you think this?
I think this because slowly it's progressing and people are starting to understand how important this is and why it should be discussed and recognized.
Yeah, but only 4 countries. Why doesn't the rest of the world have euthanasia?
Right now we are currently debating over whether euthanasia should be legal or not, meaning that many countries are debating over this, and soon there will be an answer.
Thank you. You talked about how the doctor gave Brittany Maynard a medicine to kill herself. Are you aware that this is assisted suicide and not euthanasia?
No, because she asked for it and then she took the lethal dose.
Yeah, but are you aware that that is, in fact, not euthanasia, it is assisted suicide, which is not what we're talking about today.
Okay, thank you.
Do you not think that there are other ways that they cannot feel pain without dying?
None that don't have extreme side effects and cause even more pain and constraint on the person's life.
Thank you. Do you think that it is right for a patient to be pressured into euthanasia because of what their family thinks?
No, and
and that is why I stated that it doesn't make a difference because as a research from the New York Times article, anyway, 86% only have a month or a couple weeks left. So is life really worthwhile for this short amount of time?
Don't you think that is losing the perspective of hope on the person?
No, because at the end of the day, they have to give written consent, and since they already have understood, accepted their circumstance, it doesn't affect.
Are you aware that there are other ways for the person not to experience pain without dying?
Not that make a huge impact on their life and how long they live.
Do you have a source for that?
My partner will expand on this later in her speech.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges, and worthy opponents. Today, I will be first negative for the motion euthanasia should be legal. I would like to begin by weakening my opponent's points. First of all, our opponent mentioned that there was a lethal drug given to a patient, which then they took and killed themselves with. But in this case, this is not euthanasia. This is assisted suicide. Euthanasia is when the doctor directly kills the patient with an injection or a lethal dose of a suitable drug. Secondly, there are in fact other ways that the patients can feel pain, unlike our opponents stated. There is such thing called palliative care, which can reduce the patient's pain. And when we asked them if it was right for a patient to be pressured into euthanasia because of what their family thinks, they replied and said that it was not worthwhile for the patient to live for the rest of the time. Now I would like to start my speech. My first point is about the mental health of everyone, the doctors. A doctor called Peter Reagan came out about how he felt about euthanizing his patient. He said that he hesitated to sign the form that meant that he agreed to euthanize the patient. He said that whenever he tried thinking about the fact that this patient's life was in his hands, he experienced a sadness much more profound than what he could see in his patient. This affected him so much mentally that he was unable to sleep at night for a period of time. A few years after euthanasia was legalized in the Netherlands, Dutch doctors were interviewed about their feelings on euthanasia. 75% of doctors expressed feelings of discomfort. 45% of doctors that performed euthanasia sought emotional support after performing it. The family. Euthanasia can cause the family of the patient traumatic grief. It can cause the families of the euthanasia patients post-traumatic stress and a sense of under-accomplishment. They could feel as though they were part of the decision of euthanasia, therefore causing them a similar amount of discomfort about the whole situation. I understand that it is the patient's choice, but it is the family who will be the most affected. My partner and I's second point is the Hippocratic Oath. For those who don't know, the Hippocratic Oath is an oath that doctors must recite when training to become a doctor. And it is typically the last step in becoming a doctor. One of the lines in the Hippocratic Oath reads, "I will not give a lethal drug to anyone if I am asked, nor will I advise such a plan." Since the process of euthanasia includes the doctor giving a patient of a fatal dose of a suitable drug, the process of euthanasia is against the Hippocratic Oath. The oath is not only important for doctors, but for the rest of the population as well. This oath builds trust between the patient and the doctor. The oath protects the patient's welfare and causes them to believe that the doctor will in fact cause them no harm. When a doctor performs euthanasia, they are completely disregarding the Hippocratic Oath, meaning that they are breaking the trust between themselves and the patients. My last point is that misdiagnosis is common. Our first example is Jeanette Hall. Jeanette Hall was diagnosed with terminal cancer and decided that she did not want to take chemotherapy, and instead she wanted to travel to the Netherlands to be euthanized. A few days before the date when they were about to euthanize her, she decided to pull out of the euthanasia process and try to get chemotherapy instead. 15 years later, she is still alive and no longer has cancer. It was not terminal. Our second point is Valerie Harper. She was told that she had a rare form of brain cancer and was misdiagnosed by being informed about having 3 to 6 months to live. At that point, she was thinking about getting euthanized, but she got scared. 5 years later, she is still alive and healthy and is a successful actress who has won 4 Emmy Awards. About 10 to 20% of cases are misdiagnosed. 28% of 583 misdiagnosis cases were life-threatening and had a result in death or another disability. Hypothetically, this would mean that around 900 of the 6,090 euthanasia cases last year, 900 of them were misdiagnosed and would have lived if they hadn't chosen euthanasia. Doctors get paid to treat a patient, not to diagnose them correctly. Once a doctor has a diagnosis, typically they continue with their diagnosis and treat the patient accordingly, irregardless of whether it is a correct diagnosis or not. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. In the revised Hippocratic Oath, the Declaration of Geneva removed that line that you stated. How do you explain this?
I guess they decided it wasn't fit for their own oath.
So it's invalid.
No, because there are multiple other oaths other than the Hippocratic Oath which include this line or a similar line.
Can you state any?
No, sorry.
Just because families will be affected, should we not allow any free will?
I believe that they should have the free will, but they should also be considering the emotions of their family. As you stated in your points, the emotions of the family affect the way the patients of euthanasia think, and therefore if the family will be affected negatively, I feel that the patient should take that into consideration.
So it's your belief. The fact that she could, the girl that you mentioned, Helen, I believe, or Harper, the one that could stop cancer. Okay.
Yes.
The fact that she could stop the euthanasia proves it safeguards work. Isn't this a good thing?
Can you rephrase your question, please?
So the fact that she managed to get out of the euthanasia that she was going to have means that its safeguards do work. Isn't this a good thing?
Yes, this is a good thing.
So you agree to our case?
No, because in your case you are trying to state that they should resort to euthanasia instead of using this therapy and other safeguards.
Okay. So you talked about Peter Reagan.
Yes.
Please explain to me how, okay, it is his job. Please explain to me how his emotions should affect euthanasia.
So obviously a doctor must do his duty, and I accept that. But doctors are allowed to decline on euthanasia, and a doctor's job is to save people and not to murder them.
Even if he's putting them out of their misery?
Yes, because they can find a different doctor as well. But most doctors would feel emotionally unwell after applying euthanasia.
And you talked about palliative care.
Palliative care, yes.
Are you aware of the many
different side effects that cause.
Yes, my partner will elaborate on that in her speech.
And you believe that this is safe?
Yes.
Safer than euthanasia?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and worthy opponents, my name is Ingrid Slota, and I am representing the affirmative side of this debate. Euthanasia should be legalized. Due to its termination of immense medical fees, the inefficiency of palliative care, and the existence of reliable safeguards. But first, I would like to address some of my opponent's points. First of all, they cross-examined my partner over the fact that the Brittany Maynard story was assisted suicide. However, she must have misspoken. A reputable source, CNN, stated that it was euthanasia. Secondly, they stated that palliative care the side effects would not matter and that it would be more efficient than euthanasia. However, the side effects of this create even more pain, delirium, and even respiratory distress, which I would argue would extend their suffering even more and would not be more efficient than euthanasia. Thirdly, they said that doctors will experience PTSD and may not want to participate in euthanasia, therefore it should be banned. However, they couldn't respond to the question of why euthanasia should be banned, even if this is the doctor's profession. They signed up for this, therefore their emotions should not get into the way of their practice. Should a heart surgeon's emotions and care about whether he will kill his patient make us stop and ban heart surgery? No. They also said that we stated that euthanasia would have to be the ultimate truth, that any terminally ill person would have to pick euthanasia instead of palliative care or therapy. However, one of our largest points was that euthanasia is a choice. The fact that we are offering this to people is a good thing, as it is a way to get out of their suffering. Also, the examples they stated over people recovering after they opted out of euthanasia constitutes what euthanasia.net describes as the miracle 1% that do get better. Usually, as we stated in our definition, euthanasia is given to the terminally ill, therefore their prospects are always very low. Now, caring for a terminally ill individual requires a significant amount of money. The demanded out-of-pocket expenses exceeding 40% of those households' financial assets, states the Mount Sinai School of Medicine. An example of such an expense is the chemotherapy drug Avastin, costing $55,000 for an averagely increased lifespan of just 1.5 months. This states the director of the Dartmouth Institute for Health Policy and Clinical Practice. Furthermore, the cost of being in a long-term ICU on a ventilator is $1,500 per day. While insurance can cover some of these expenses, it's not nearly enough. Moreover, terminally ill people can be refused coverage due to a pre-existing condition, providing no help. Medicare paid an average of $856 per day for patients experiencing a crisis, not even close to reaching the enormous medical fees. This financial strain causes hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for palliative care that may only extend their lives by an intolerable few months. This debt gets passed down to families, which will have to follow up the harrowing months of watching their loved ones suffer by years of trying to pay back impossible debts. Secondly, palliative care, the alternative to euthanasia, while improving, is not a panacea. It is often accompanied with painful side effects that only increase the suffering of the terminally ill individual. And, due to the lack of a cure, trial and error are required in order to create a mildly effective treatment, which can also increase pain. For example, cancer patients receiving palliative care can experience insomnia, nausea, breathlessness, delirium, pain, and other physical issues that cause even more of a detriment to their health. The uses of opioids, such as morphine, can extend this list of symptoms to include sedation and respiratory distress, states Stanford. Additionally, palliative care is generally only provided in the last stage of a terminal illness's progression, where it extends the average lifespan by a couple of weeks. Palliative care is often portrayed as a practice that makes patients' lives easier and painless, providing them with the necessary pain relief, when the reality is the opposite. The increase of pain for a short extension of life may not seem worth it to many terminally ill individuals. What's the point in living a little while longer if it's going to be an even more suffering? Finally, euthanasia is strictly regulated by several safeguards. These prevent the abuse of this practice, providing a list of criteria that judge whether a person is available for the procedure. For example, Belgian law states that patients have to experience constant and unbearable suffering. Their condition must be incurable, and they must give explicit written consent. These three principles ensure that the patient is aware of the situation, cannot be alternatively cured, fully consents to the procedure, and minimizes any possible liabilities. While these safeguards can be transgressed, no legislation can exist without possible consequences. The laws regarding euthanasia do contain some risks. However, offenses against these have halved over the span of a decade and a half. The percent of deaths from euthanasia without written consent in the Netherlands going from 0.8% of all cases in 1991 to 0.4% of all cases in 2005. This positive development demonstrates the efficiency of the security offered by specific preventive measures, especially considering that this is a novel practice and one of its first legal executions. Ladies and gentlemen, euthanasia should be legalized. When no alternative treatments exist, it is cruel not to offer this opportunity to the terminally ill. It reduces medical fees from treatments that may only extend lives by a few painful weeks, while still being closely regulated to prevent abuse. In a world where palliative care can be inefficient and only increase a person's suffering, euthanasia is necessary. Thank you.
So you talked about medical fees. Do you think that it is all right to kill somebody because it is cheaper than
As I stated before, it is a patient's choice. However, euthanasia can help stop this as well as their suffering.
But do you agree that human life is worth the money that they are spending?
I do not. It is worth how it is dependent on the choice of the patient. The medical bills only play into that.
So you do not believe that human life is worth money?
No.
Okay. Also, are you stating that palliative care will cause them more suffering?
Indeed, I am.
More suffering than they have been feeling before?
Yes.
All right. Also, are you aware that palliative care can be given at any point of the illness, therefore your point is invalid?
Actually, both the National Library of Health and Stanford University, in studies that were cross-referenced and done in the past 5 years, they say the opposite.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, judges, proponents, and audience members. Today, I am second negative to the motion that euthanasia should be legal. I will start off by weakening a few of my opponent's arguments. Even though they stated that palliative care is given at the last 6 months of a person's life, they are probably confused between hospice care and palliative care. Hospice care is for the last 6 months of a person's life, whereas palliative care is for any point in the person's illness. They stated financial issues with palliative care. However, my partner and I firmly believe that a human's life is not worth any amount of money. I will now start my speech by giving my first point. Euthanasia gives doctors too much power. What I mean by this is that no human should have the power to take away another's life, even if it were for the suffering of the patients. Doctors should not be allowed to decide when people die, even though most of the time the decision will not be taken by the doctor, but by the patient. However, the doctor's opinion can influence the patient's decision. The doctor can provide information to the patient to help them make their decision, and the patients use that information for which they will base their choices regarding euthanasia. Any sanctioning about euthanasia, regardless how strictly regulated, puts doctors for an unsuitable position of power, ultimately giving them a share of the decision. 37% of all high-severity injury cases in 2013 in the U.S., including death, involved some form of miscommunication, misinformation, and misdiagnosis. This leads back to my opponent's argument, my partner's argument. My second point is palliative and hospice care are available. Currently, the strongest painkiller is morphine. And although my opponents may argue that there are very severe side effects to this, the side effects are not too severe. But what does this have to do with palliative care? Palliative care relieves suffering and pain, as well as improves quality of life for people at any age, at any stage in a serious illness, whether it is curable, chronic, or life-threatening. The difference between palliative and hospice care, as I stated in the beginning of my argument, is that hospice care is for the last 6 months, whereas palliative is at any point. Palliative and hospice care relieve pain and suffering without death. Euthanasia, however, is the concept of mercy killing. But even if it is for mercy, it's still killing. My third point is religion. We have to face the facts. Only 7% of the world is atheists. That leaves the rest of the population who are religious to have different opinions on euthanasia. 31.5% of the world is Christian. 24% of the world is Muslim. And 10% of the world is Buddhist. All of the religions I just mentioned are against humans killing each other. Therefore, 65.5% of the world is against euthanasia. As in, one way or another, they don't agree that humans should kill other humans. That their God should be the only one to take and give life. In the Bible, chapter 13, verse 9, it states the commandments. One of them being, you shall not kill. In the Quran, chapter 6, verse 151, it states, do not kill a soul that God has made sacrosanct, save lawfully. And one of the most important values in Buddhism is the non-harming of other living things, even down to the smallest of insects. This is why my partner and I firmly believe that euthanasia should not be legal. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech. First of all, what were your sources for palliative care? About the fact that it will not increase a person's suffering.
The NHS people.
Are you saying that this source is more reliable than cross-reference studies from both National Library of Health and Stanford University? Okay. In what country was a study conducted in all of high-severity cases? Do you have a statistic about that?
It was in the U.S.
Are you aware that active euthanasia is not available in any state in the U.S. Therefore, this argument is irrelevant.
This argument is to prove the point that misinformation, miscommunication, and misdiagnosis are very common.
So you're saying that an example unrelated to this debate is okay to use?
It's just to prove my point.
Okay. You said that physicians can, in a way, not tell patients enough. However, one of the safeguards and laws in each of the 4 euthanasia practicing countries is that patients have to be told about their situation. How can this still happen?
I did not say that.
Okay. You also said that a human life is not worth any money, and then tried to clash with us that we said something different. We said the same thing. How do you explain this?
Sorry, could you please restate your question?
Could you explain why a human life is not worth any money?
What do you mean by this?
You stated that a human life is, quote-unquote, not worth any money.
Not worth any amount of money.
Any amount of money. Could you please explain this?
Yeah, the human life is not, it's priceless. It's not worth a certain amount of money.
Okay, you also said that when you were cross-examining us, you said that palliative care is only available in terminal illnesses, yet later you contradicted yourself and said that it was available for both curable and terminal. How do you explain this hypocrisy?
There are 2 different types of care that relieve suffering, one being hospice and the other one being palliative.
You only referred to palliative. Please explain.
I referred to hospice as well in my speech.
Okay, and could you also please explain why, just because there are certain people that abide by religions that focus on the sanctity of life, euthanasia should be banned just for them?
Not just for them, it's the majority of the world, more than half, actually.
Euthanasia is a choice, therefore religious people can also not choose euthanasia. Should we ban a practice just because some people don't agree with it?
No, but you should take into account the opinions of some religions.
So you agree to our case that no, euthanasia should not be legalized? Fine. Thank you.
Nice, 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, I can't choose the second stop.
Eliana. Thank you. I'm so sorry for you to do this, but.
Somewhere in there. But I did make them.
I feel like I could have jumped the line.
Huh? What?
Who do you think will win?
I don't know. Which is which team?
What?
Which is which team?
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Right. Can you mute?
Good afternoon. I would like to end this debate with a rebuttal, and I would like to do this by weakening our opponent's points. First of all, they mentioned a patient who consumed drugs and overdosed. However, medical euthanasia is only when a doctor directly gives their patient a suitable dose of a lethal drug, and even though our opponent's partner stated that the opponent said this wrongly, it was still part of their speech. We also asked them if it was worth the money that is given so that the patient can be alive for longer alongside their family and friends. And they said that giving the worth to keep the patient alive is useless. They also stated that most patients have 1 week left to live. So would it not be better if they spent that last week with their family? And wouldn't the money given during that last week be worth it? They also stated that they believe that it is right that the patient should consider what the family thinks. However, they then contradicted that while they were asking us their cross-examination questions. So, yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and worthy opponents. I will start with addressing the opposition's points. Firstly, they failed to connect how a doctor having PTSD affects the patient's free will to want euthanasia and to have the right to euthanasia. They agreed to the fact that euthanasia has strong safeguards, making it reliable and good for everyday use. Also, they failed to recognize that the oath that they had said for the Hippocratic Oath has been removed, and they failed to compensate with any other oaths. Also, they talked about family. Do you really believe that just because family will be affected, we should not allow the people with terminal illness to get rid of their pain and suffering and end their life with closure, dignity, and pride? Also, when I was talking about Brittany Maynard, I misspoke. According to the debate handbook, they cannot attack me based on misspeaking. CNN said that it was euthanasia. Also, I never contradicted myself by agreeing to the family while asking questions, as they have stated, and I cannot find anywhere that I did that. To conclude, imagine if your family member suffered from a terminal illness. Wouldn't you want to help end their pain? Thank you.
I was holding this for over 2 hours.
2 hours, 20 minutes. Before ending this debate, I would like to thank the judges and my opponents for a wonderful debate. To end the debate, I would like to strengthen my opponent and I's arguments. Euthanasia affects the mental health of the doctors and the family, and they're the ones staying behind after the person dies. Our second point is the Hippocratic Oath. Even though the Hippocratic Oath is not very commonly used today, my opponent and I, my partner and I, would like to say that the oath is a connection between the doctors and the patients, and the oath gives the patients trust between the doctor and themselves, and because of this oath, they trust the doctors. Also, misdiagnosis is very common, and if euthanasia patients are misdiagnosed and yet they still die, they would die in vain, as the illness could be possibly curable. It gives doctors too much power, and they can affect a patient's decision whether to pick euthanasia or not. Palliative and hospice care are play a very big role in the choice of euthanasia, as palliative care relieves pain and suffering at any stage in a serious illness. Also, religion should be taken into account, as I stated before, more than half of the world is religious. I would like to also state a fourth point. Over time, laws get looser and less strict, and this makes euthanasia's laws expand, leaving more space for the laws to be misused. Thank you very much for this debate.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges. I will begin by addressing some of my opponent's points. First of all, in the rebuttal, they introduced a fourth point. By the debate handbook, this is not allowed and illegal. While evidence is welcome, another argument is not, rendering it invalid. Secondly, they also said that the Hippocratic Oath was not commonly used, yet it should still be taken into consideration. How does this make sense? When there is a revised Declaration of Geneva that does not include one of the lines that was one of their arguments, they failed to provide any evidence that should combat this. They also did not respond to any of the arguments my partner and I cross-examined them on in our rebuttal, such as strong safeguards, the fact that it is a doctor's profession, therefore their emotions should not go into play, the fact that family coercion is very rare, and that just because there are a miracle 1%, that does not mean euthanasia should be banned overall. They also stated that two arguments that contradicted themselves. The first one being that palliative care is only available to terminally ill patients. And then later, they stated that it was also available to patients with curable diseases. They failed to explain this hypocrisy, therefore also rendering this argument invalid. They also listed a statistic that by their own words, they said it was in the US. Even after they admitted that it was assisted suicide, not active euthanasia, the topic of this debate, another argument they cross-examined my partner on, they still said that it made their point. However, how can an example that is not related to the topic of this debate make one of their arguments? Finally, they agreed to our case. They said that no, euthanasia should not be banned simply because of religion. Therefore, they agreed to what we were saying. They said that euthanasia should not be banned, therefore it should be illegal. It should be legal. I apologize. Now, I would like to restate our points. Euthanasia doesn't take lives. It's patients that are terminally ill deserve control over their lives. Families have to carry the burden of their relatives' suffering when they are terminally ill. Medical debts can affect families. Palliative care is inefficient, and safeguards regulate euthanasia. Ladies and gentlemen, a democratic society is based on the principle of free choice. Why should the end of your life be any different? Thank you.
Oh, there's the closing ceremony.
Thank you.